impresses me.
Well, it's interesting also that so much of this fantasy film material now is about war. I mean, that seems to be what it's about. You know, it's about unleashing large machinery and other pieces of large machinery. And it's not about people, it's not about peace. You know, it's not about anything other than war. And one of the things I thought about E.T., for example, which is interesting, and which relates to a wonderful science fiction film, I think, The Man Who Fell to Earth, is that the alien is vulnerable. You know, that instead of the alien being something to be scared of, the alien's scared of us, you know, and is easily damaged. And I think that makes E.T. kind of different, you know, from and made The Man Who Fell to Earth very special, apart from David Bowie's deeply interesting performance.
My problem with E.T., and I think it would be a better film, is if he didn't have those big Walter King moonstone eyes, because you immediately love that little creature. There's a moment in the film when they're dissecting the frogs, and they do a close-up of the frog's eyes with those alien slit eyes. Now, if E.T. had those eyes, then he's a really grotesque, ugly thing, and the kid has to learn to love a grotesque, ugly thing. So you could have had many layers to that film that are even greater, because it's easy to love E.T. It should have been difficult to love E.T., and yet the kid does, so they learn to.
My fear was the audience would never love E.T. because he was so off-putting, the way he looked. And my hope was that they would love him within 15 minutes of meeting him. I expected, because I designed the film this way, for him to be scary when we first meet him. But as Elliot slowly starts to understand that there's no threat here, and that E.T. is the most magnificent curiosity of his young life, I would hope the audience also would be breathing the same kind of life into E.T. from their own points of view. And they did, and that's what was important. E.T. wasn't cute.
I felt that when I saw, did you see the Spielberg Kubrick artificial intelligence AI?
Mr. Articulate speaks.
I think we got the answer to the question. But you know, there's a moment in that film, about 35 minutes before the end, when the little robot kid decides the world is not worth living in and dives off the building. Now, if the film had ended there, it's a lot better. It's a lot better. And you can't help feeling that if Kubrick rather than Spielberg had directed the film, that's the Kubrick ending.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Yeah. And then there's half an hour of Spielberg feel-good crap. You know, blue fairies.
But this is the new... to make a successful...
there's no sequel in it, that's true.
But the trick is, the successful films are not asking questions. They're not making you think. They're not asking you to consider...
People assume that Stanley ended AI with David and Teddy underwater, trapped by the Ferris wheel, at that end credits roll. And they're going to be down there until their batteries run out. That's where they assume Stanley ended it, and I, of course, get criticized for carrying the film 2,000 years into an advanced future where the robots they recreated have replaced us, and super mechas rule the world, and it's become a silicon-based, no longer a carbon-based society. And they certainly assumed that that's how I wrecked Stanley's movie, when in fact Stanley's treatment, along with Ian Watson, went right into the 2,000-year future. And this was where Stanley was going to take the movie had he lived to direct it. And this is where I was obligated to take the picture. And even if I didn't feel such an obligation to fulfill Stanley's vision, that would have been my vision as well.